Welcome back to Sports Class with Dr. K. It's February and that can mean only one thing. The San Antonio Spurs are about to make a run for the playoffs. Well, I don't know if the Spurs are going to make a run for the playoffs, but one thing is for sure. One of the teams out of the playoff race right now is going to make a run and somebody's going to falter down the stretch. Happens almost every year. The All-Star game is upon us, so this is a great time to look at those teams out there and see who might turn things around and who might falter a little bit down the stretch. So we're going to take this lesson and look at 10 teams that made the biggest turnarounds in NBA season history. All right, some of these turnarounds were not good enough to get those teams into the playoffs, just the first couple. We're going to focus later on some great teams that actually made the playoffs. So number 10, 2006-2007 Philadelphia 76ers. This team started out 5-19 on the year. Eventually traded guard Allen Iverson. Andre Iguodala found his groove, started to take over, and the team managed to finish the season on an 18-11 run, but still not quite good enough to make the playoffs. They're only number 10 on our list. Number 9 on this list also just missed the playoffs. The 2016-17 Miami Heat under Erik Spoelstra. This was after LeBron had left. The team faltered early in the season, starting out the year at 11-30 at the halfway point. Remarkably, though, they completely flipped that record in the second half. They finished 30-11 in the second half, tied with the Chicago Bulls for 8th place in the conference, missing out on the playoffs by the tiebreaker. All right, number 8. I've got to get this one in here. The 1974-75 New Orleans Jazz with one of the greatest players of all time, Pete Maravich. This was their inaugural season. They started out horribly, going 4-34 in their first 38 games. In the second half of the year, they did find something of a groove, finishing that half at 19-25. So it's still not great, but it does make this one of the most remarkable turnarounds in NBA history. All right, number 7 involves Pistol Pete once again. The 1970-71 Atlanta Hawks. They started out the season 14-32, but Pistol Pete found his groove, and this team finished the year on a 22-14 run. They just squeaked into the playoffs and lost in the first round to the New York Knicks, but this is good enough for the number 7 turnaround in NBA history. Number 6, another team that just squeaked into the playoffs and ended up losing in the first round, the 1996-97 Phoenix Suns. Now, they had just gotten rid of Charles Barkley and started out really slow. Eventually, they brought in Jason Kidd, found their groove in the second half of the year, finishing on a 23-11 run. It was good enough to get them in the playoffs, but not enough to win that first round. So it's only enough for number 6 on our list, the best turnarounds in NBA history. All right, number 5 on our list, another team that managed to get into the playoffs only to lose that first round. The 1984-85 Cleveland Cavaliers started out the year 0-9, 2-19, and finished the first half at 16-33. They managed to come down the stretch, though, at 20-12, sneaking into the playoffs but losing that first round matchup. Number 4, the 2003-2004 Miami Heat. This was Dwayne Wade's rookie year. It took a little while for him to find his rhythm in the NBA. This team got off to an 0-7 start and 5-15 before things finally started to click. They actually went on a 12-3 run in March and finished the year 42-40. Made it into the playoffs and took out the Hornets in the first round. So this team actually advanced in the playoffs, finally losing to the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Number 3, the 1976-77 Chicago Bulls. The Bulls brought in Artis Gilmore that year, but things took a little while for them to gel. They started out the year at 23-32. But they went on one of the most remarkable second half runs in NBA history, finishing the year at 21-6, making it into the playoffs and losing to the eventual champion Portland Trail Blazers. Number 2, the Seattle Supersonics in 1977-78. This team got off to a really slow start, starting out at 2-10 and at 1.5-17 on the year. Then they brought in a new head coach, Lenny Wilkens, and things seemed to click immediately. They went on a remarkable run, 42-18 to finish the season, went all the way to the NBA Finals before losing to the Washington Bullets. And number 1, The biggest turnaround in NBA history, the 2004-2005 Denver Nuggets. Now, this was not a championship team. It wasn't enough for them to win the title, but they made a remarkable turnaround. Carmelo Anthony and company started out the year at 24-29, but had one of the best records ever after the All-Star break, finishing the season on a 25-4 run. They managed to sneak into the playoffs, but lost to the San Antonio Spurs to end that remarkable season. So there you have it, 10 of the biggest turnarounds in NBA history. Hopefully, if your team is out of the playoff hunt right now, they'll make a similar turnaround and get in there. Let me know about it in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.